years, I think farmers have tried to collect yield data, relatively unsuccessfully, mainly because in part it's the collection process itself is quite poor. They don't calibrate to the crop or the paddock, for example, so some of the actual data that comes through is not great. And then secondly, even if that's done properly and they produce a yield map of sorts, it's invariably just printed off, put in the top drawer if you like, and never be seen again. So I think the issue is people probably don't understand or don't use it effectively to then draw some sort of action from. So it just becomes basically just another pretty map, I suppose, that never gets used really.
Despite that frustration, you guys at Precision Ag are helping to close that gap. Tell me about that.
We always want to try and derive an action from the data being collected in the first place. Otherwise, it's a waste of time and money on the farmer's part. So yeah, so we'll nurse them through, help them with formatting data cards, collect the yield data, check it during harvest time, download it end of harvest, process it and calibrate it to the tonnes produced on the paddock itself, and then produce a meaningful and accurate yield map. So that's sort of the first step. And then it's actually sitting down with a farmer and their agronomist and ground truthing the yield map, trying to validate why there's areas performing well, why there's areas performing poorly, and then generally looking at other data sets as well. So it might be more than one season's worth of yield data, because the vagaries of the season could throw up some things that maybe aren't consistent with the paddock. So you look at 2 or 3 years, or look at a set of yield data from one season, and then overlay it with the likes of satellite imagery, so NDVI maps where they're quite easy to go and get, so you can overlay those with yield maps and start to see some correlation, I guess, with the production across the paddock.
So what other data do you correlate with that to produce a decision? How do you produce that decision?
From a yield map or an NDVI map, if you like, so we would do some ground truthing in terms of an EM38 survey to measure soil type, or go and do some grid-based or strategic soil sampling, so try and look at the nutrition of the paddock, and then from that build a profile for the farmer so they better understand what they're looking at, because they may have a particular issue they want to drill down on, whether it's sedicity or acidity, if you like. The end game obviously is to try and build them some sort of variable rate activity, be it lime or gypsum or phosphorus or nitrogen. So it's sort of using whichever tools are necessary, Daryl, I suppose, to build that picture and get them into an action. We're confident, we've saved in the order of around 60,000 tonnes of lime, which is valued around $2.5 million in savings to farmers. So that's quite a consistent saving we're seeing across the board. And there's also the yield unlock, so areas that were being probably under fertilised previously and getting more lime now because they're identifying areas that are more acidic. Certainly we're seeing probably a 10 or 20% increase in yield, but that's one of the things we're sort of working on now, is to try and better understand what that yield unlock is, I suppose, so you've got a better sense of the extra yield being produced.
What's your vision for the future?
A lot of these issues are common to many, so whether it's trying to be smarter with their decision making around fertiliser application. So I think we sort of said there's a big market anyway, so we're hoping to roll these services across a broad acre as well as pasture and viticulture and horticulture. So certainly anywhere they're applying inputs anyway, we think there's a role to play.
Ben, thanks so much for joining us on the Anvil.
Thanks, Daryl. Thank you.